Hi, Marina. Hello, everyone. Today we are having the most incredible guest, Marina Blackford, who is women empowerment coach.
Mhm.
Marina was on both sides of breast cancer. She was patient and now she is helping other women to overcome uh, any issues they experience, emotional and psychological issues that women experience when diagnosing and going through breast cancer. So, hi, Marina. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to connect with you and anybody listening to this. So thank you.
I would like to go directly into the questions and ask you about your breast cancer journey. How did it started, and how did you feel? What happened with you?
It started when I was 31. I had been feeling an ache in my breast. I thought I should go get my first mammogram because at that point my mom was a breast cancer survivor and they said to go 10 years younger than her diagnosis. So I went to do that and do my genetic testing as well, since BRCA1 is in our family, my mom. And both would come back positive. So positive for breast cancer, invasive ductal carcinoma, and positive for BRCA1 genetic mutation, the mutation on the breast cancer gene. Um, that's where it started. And then from there, I can't say my whole life changed because I believe that I'm at where I'm supposed to be, but I would go through treatment and share my story with my friends, family, and on social media. And at some point, I felt a calling to make videos on YouTube to help people because I was getting so many messages from people asking how can they help their family or friends being diagnosed. So I thought, let me just make a video or two and put it on YouTube. And then people can go there for some tips. So I did that, and I would be diagnosed again shortly after that. So in 2020 for the second time. And then I continued to make videos, and my most watched video is 12 things I wish I knew before starting chemo. And I think it's powerful because I share what to expect. I also share tips, but I also shared it as I was at that time, which was bald and, hardly any eyebrows. And people saw me and heard me, and they noticed that um I didn't appear like as if I was living with a lot of fear, probably because it was my second time, and it provided so much hope. I think that's why people stayed on the channel and wanted to see more, and I just kept making more videos. So that's what's led me to where I'm at. I'm a digital creator, and now I'm a certified cancer and life coach.
And that's the video that I found when I was on YouTube
Mhm.
at the end of my cancer chemo journey. I had 6 months of chemo, and in the beginning, I was looking for different type of information, and I was so overwhelmed. And also, unfortunately, women who are younger typically diagnosed with later stages of cancer because it is difficult to diagnose, and of course, because they are unaware that they should check at 20 or 30. And when I found this like a little scary content on YouTube, I just shut down. I decided that I didn't want to go this path, but I was ready to search for more information later in my chemo journey, and that's how I found your video. And indeed, it gave me so much hope, and that's why I also want to have this conversation with you right now to show to other women, other young women, that this is possible and this is happening, and fuck breast cancer.
Yeah, that gives me like, oh, it physically makes me so happy to hear that. Just want to tell you that
Thank
we've connected through that now because
you.
of what I did and what you did for yourself to research it, and then here we are sharing with others.
And so you said that your journey brought you to become breast cancer coach, women
Mhm.
empowerment.
Yes.
Um, did you know you wanted to do it straight away, or what was this path to this realization and to the actual step to become a certified coach?
Yeah, I believe it was my background in healthcare and connecting with people. So I'm a 16-year dental hygienist. And so my background is, healthcare and educating people on their oral health and inflammation and what we can do about it. And so it felt like a natural next step for myself and others to find out more. And so I started with that. I used traditional medicine, which worked for me, and I beat triple negative breast cancer twice using chemo, radiation, surgery. Um, but I love learning about all of it. So I became certified in holistic cancer coaching because I wanted to support my body in every way, not just the medicine, but what we eat, how we detox, how we live. So that was a certification I chose. And I'd say I truly actually probably chose it for myself first. And then, of course, I could share it with others since I was doing YouTube. And it just progressed, really. It progressed to I can now help people off of YouTube if they need it. Um, and and I started offering that about a year ago. So it's been really nice for people that feel overwhelmed and they might not have time to watch all the videos and they need help navigating that treatment. My experience and now the holistic side of it is helping people get a full picture of what they can do, hence the word empowerment,
Mm.
empowering them on their journey. And I feel like when they connect with somebody that's done it, a survivor, and they connect with tools to help themselves, whether it's how to get through chemo or, how to change their eating, it's very empowering. And that is the other side of fear, is having the tools and having the hope. So
Mm.
that's how I got to where I'm at now.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Sometimes life leads you to the place where you didn't expect, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I love being a dental hygienist. Wonderful patients. I just felt a calling or a pulling just more in another direction was where I was at. And I'm excited for that. It allows me to actually stay home with my kids more, and they're very young. They're in a lot of my videos since they were 2 and a baby when I was going through treatment the last time. So it's just everything kind of happens for a reason. It's been a real blessing to have the option.
I want to go a few steps back when you talked about empowerment. What was your empowerment? You had a mom, a survivor mom. Was this empowerment for you? So, or was it something else or somebody else?
That's great. Absolutely. The first time I was diagnosed, um, even though, my mom was a survivor, it was still very scary, I'll say. I mean, nobody, even with a family history, you still don't ever really expect to be told you have cancer. At least I didn't. I just kind of lived life and knew that I would do the appointments I needed to, get the screening at some point, get the testing. Um, but once I had the diagnosis, absolutely. I think there was a lot of empowerment with having my mom. She had beaten it um, twice at that point. I have to remember. I always kind of forget. She had actually had breast cancer twice at that point and beat it twice. And so I had a living example of somebody that went through treatment and came out on the other side, and I could do it. So it was very empowering. So the first time was probably that, having my mom a 2-time survivor. And the second time empowerment, I think, came from becoming a mom, knowing that I had children that were depending on me, and I I would have loved to just lay in bed all day, which is what chemo can do to a lot of us, but I needed to do the things to feel well so I could be a mom as much as I could during that time. So that was the reason for me to get up and get moving and hydrating and doing the things that really can help you feel better during treatment.
I find it so scary at the same time, um, like incredible that
Mm.
you were diagnosed so young and being a mom. It just, like, to me, this is undescribable. Like, I cannot imagine this. So I was diagnosed when I was 41, And yes, it's early, but 31, it's like very, very young age to be. What thoughts, like how did you feel, if it's okay for you to share? What was you feeling? What were like your emotions? How did you behave from the moment of the diagnosis to the moment of actually starting the treatment? What went through your head?
Well, age, yes, absolutely. I think that was the unexpected part, right? Even if I thought like, oh, I'm at risk, I wasn't imagining it could come before 40. Most cancer risks are usually after 40. So yeah, I did feel like so blindsided by like having to do this. And it was, not to be funny, but I mean it was disrupting my life. I was traveling. I was single at the time, dating my now husband, and I was like, I don't have time for this. How dare cancer show up? Um, but I quickly realized, once you're diagnosed, I think one of the hardest parts of the journey is when you are diagnosed and you have not started treatment in a way because you don't know what to expect. You are scared, you don't know. You just don't, there's a lot of unknowns in that, what I call in between time. So that was a hard time. That also was the time that once I addressed the fears of losing my hair and losing my breasts, which was basically trying to break up with my husband, I said, I can't do this and date you, so I'll take care of that. But he didn't allow that because he's a good man and said, no, no, we'll break up for another reason, not that. If there is. Yeah. But once I address those fears, like I can do that. I can lose my hair or lose my breasts, and I have options, right? Wigs, there's cold capping, there's all kinds of options. Then I stepped into a little bit of that empowerment, I think. Um, the biggest thing, and maybe I think it's important to hear, the biggest thing that I did during that time was realize how many people wanted to help, not just say it, but allowing it was what I really learned during that time. And it's what helped me through everything, was allowing the help to start to come in.
And so yeah, so you had you were diagnosed with breast cancer first time when you didn't have children, but then
Yeah.
you had children, and then you were diagnosed again. So there is this huge question of fertility and
Mm,
this decision of having children. So okay, let's start with the fertility thing.
yes.
How this question was addressed by your doctor, or did you address it?
Very good question. This is where I think it's important to know your options. And that's why I think being a cancer coach is so important. But the first time it was brought up in that first meeting of my oncologist, if I wanted to have children. And literally in the same breath as you'll need to start chemo next week, you'll lose your hair, you'll lose your breasts. Do you want to have kids? I mean, you just had like your whole world crushed, and then you have like another weighted decision to make. But I basically knew I wanted the option, so saying I think so, even if my answer wasn't 100% yes, right? I mean, that's a big question for women, but I said I think so. And so they offered Zoladex, and I started those injections immediately to put me into forced menopause. So that's given monthly, to put you into forced menopause to protect your ovaries. And I'm so glad I did that. If I'm being honest, it was one of the worst parts of treatment in a way for me. I just didn't like doing it because it was another needle and poke, but it was still worth it. I was able to have kids after chemo, and I'm so thankful for it. The second time I was diagnosed, I had just had a baby, and I think since I had had recurrence, it was really just trying to get treatment going again because they were worried about it spreading. So the second time they didn't ask if I wanted to do that. So with my past knowledge, I had to mention to them, should I be starting Zoladex since I'm starting chemo? I think I'd actually already started the chemo. Um, and so they had kind of forgotten to mention that in my treatment plan. I knew I was okay with not doing Zoladex the second time because I had had two healthy babies. But yeah, knowledge is power on this journey.
That's for sure. And again, each time there are so many questions I want to ask, but can you please explain, because maybe some don't know what is Zoladex and what does it do? Because for me, they offered to freeze my eggs,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to have children, so I refused. I went immediately with the treatment.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know much about Zoladex, and I'm pretty sure that others are unaware about this.
Yes. Yeah, good point. They did offer that as well to freeze my eggs. It would have been, that's a process
Mhm.
though to freeze eggs. And then again, when the
It's
concern
like
is,
at least 1 month, right? Because that's what my doctor mentioned. Like,
I think so, right? I mean, long enough to do an injection, retrieve eggs. And so they weren't excited about it, but of course they did offer that option. So I chose Zoladex because I could start that immediately and then start chemo more quickly. So Zoladex, they call it an injection. It is like a small pellet. And so it's inserted with a larger needle, usually into a fatty area of the body. So, like around your belly button or your thigh. And so it feels like getting a piercing really once a month.
Mhm.
They can use a cold spray to numb the skin so that it's more comfortable. And I'd always recommend telling your nurse to do that. Do they have a numbing spray to use? And then once it's inserted, you're fine. They just say do that every 4 weeks, and they'll do it as long as you're in chemo. So I had 6 of those.
Okay.
Um, so it would often leave a bruise, I would do mine in my stomach, and they would just you'd have to remember, did they do the left side this time? So let's do the right next time and kind of do that.
Mhm.
The side effects are that of menopause, so hot flashes, possible achiness. Um, those are probably the most really the hot flashes and maybe some what they call like restless leg, so disrupted sleep, which is already
Yeah.
another side effect of chemo. But I did my best to manage those symptoms with medication and doing other practices. And so I still do believe it was worth it, but that's also why I say it was my least favorite part of treatment.
Yeah. So can you just open a little door to these practices and self-care that you did in order to feel better?
Yes, yeah, I was just so big on routine because I know the science behind circadian rhythm and having a night routine. And
Mm.
so I did all of that. So it's starting your day with a morning sun or a walk if you can when you're feeling well enough during chemo. It's not going to always be early morning during chemo. Hydrating throughout the day. Then at night, I would use lavender essential oils diffused or sprayed on my pillow. I bought sheets that were cooling sheets and a cooling pillow for under my head, so something that breathes.
Yeah.
Um, yes, and having like a cool glass of water like next to the bed. Um, things like that. I'm trying to think of any other practices. They have other products, like again to make your bed more comfortable, but those are the basics, just having a really solid routine to try and help.
Okay. So going back to the question, to the topic of fertility. So everything, well, was successful with like all these injections. And so how fast did it happen for you after your first diagnosis
Yeah, to get pregnant.
to get pregnant?
Yes. It was about a year and a half, I believe. And so first you'd want your period to return. And that after chemo is different for everybody. Some it's 3 months, some it's 6 months, some it's a year. So having a healthy period cycle, so having that return. And then yeah, it was about a year and a half after.
Were you scared that you would not be able to get pregnant? What were your thoughts about this topic?
Yes, we were married, and so let me think. I finished treatment. We were married 2 years after that. So somewhere around that along that line. But let me keep my train of thought. Sorry. Uh I'm sorry, ask that question again so I make sure I answer it.
Okay, so I'm asking this question for everyone who is listening and who is probably in the same situation. Maybe they have already started chemo and they're thinking about having children after this.
Mm,
So it just for those women to understand it. your story. Of course, each case is different, but to tell your like journey of a mom, what happened with
Yes.
the chemo, how like, well, maybe this is too personal, but was it difficult to get pregnant or not, and how did you feel during the pregnancy?
Yeah.
It's again, it's just to give those women hope or
Yes.
some idea of what can
Yes.
happen.
No, I love the question. You're right. So, was I a little bit scared that I could possibly not get pregnant? Yes. Yeah, I was. That's a really good point, actually. I think I just trusted, a little bit of the process, right? We don't know till we start. So it was like, okay, we're married. We know we want to try to have kids, and and we were very fortunate to have to be able to get. I was very pregnant very quickly. Um, but the fear was there, absolutely. I guess it's the way I deal with fear through a lot of the process is I'd say I have the feeling. I don't want to suppress the feelings. I want to like let those feelings come up, and then how we deal with it is unique, but I mean, it's like I felt that feeling. Like I might not be able to have kids, and if I don't, I'll find another way to be a mom. It's kinda like it's like a manifesting and releasing for me at least. So, I definitely had those fears. We were able to conceive pretty quickly once we started trying. And to be honest, I actually told a lot of people, I'm like, "I'm so happy that that part of my journey was easy because a lot of my journey was not."
No, and then
Yeah.
you were diagnosed again when you already had kids.
Yes, yeah, and that, I mean, having kids, we were able to answer that question pretty quickly. "Oh, I wonder if I can," and I was able to, and each pregnancy went pretty normal. There wasn't, really a lot of problems, anything abnormal. Had my son, knew we wanted another. I would have my daughter in 2020. Um, the most unexpected thing really was finding another lump after having a double mastectomy where you're thinking, "There's no breast tissue, I'm good." But I did find another lump as I was washing in the shower, so just feeling, and it was near my ribs, under my armpit. So that was the most shocking part of my whole journey. It was finding a lump again. Um,
Hmm.
and at that point, my son was 2 years and my daughter was 2 months.
So how did this whole active treatment happen when you already were a mom and had two children? You worried obviously about them, but also you had to worry about your treatment yourself.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
what happened then? How
Uh,
how did you install your routine, and how did you go through this?
yes. I think if I want anybody to take anything from this conversation is two things probably is to one, accept the help. It was something I learned how to do the first time because I was so independent. Being 31, I think especially if we're young women, we're at the point in our life where we're used to, you know, just doing our thing, taking care of ourselves or others, working, and accepting help is not high on that list. So learning to accept help is what I learned the first time, and it's what helped me the most the second time. So from friends, from family, anybody that could help with our young family at the time. And the next thing I would say is to know you're not alone. And I think that comes with accepting help. Once you start to accept help, you'll feel less alone, whether it's having people check on you or it's, getting support, kind of like what we're trying to do here, creating either a community, mine on YouTube,
Yeah.
or creating a resource for people to go to. So those things helped me the most during both of my journeys. So I couldn't have done it without help. So the second time having young kids, it was a lot of help from family and friends.
Mm. This is really great to feel how others want to help without even asking. But then, of course, in my case, when I asked, like, of course, not it was not a question that somebody would refuse help.
Mm.
So I mainly had a positive experience, but I sometimes hear about friends who turn their back Did you have any negative situations, any negative experiences with people around you?
There was a little bit of that. Yeah, there was a small number of friends that I would have thought were very close, that I didn't hear from a lot during it.
Hmm.
That did happen. Or even just being a hygienist, a dental hygienist, I was still working during each diagnosis. I don't know. Just, again, I just can't stop going. So I would work because for me got me out of my head. I didn't want to lay around and not feel well. It gave me a reason to like connect with people. So going to work, sometimes I would discuss that in the work environment, where patients might bring it up. And I noticed that some people they didn't want to talk about it. And so I would say just don't take that personal. I
Yeah,
think that's very unique to the people that didn't check on you or didn't want to talk about it. You don't know what they've experienced around cancer, maybe a loss of a parent, um, or it's just too much for them to deal with. And
yeah,
I just didn't take it personal. I think that's my personality in general. If I said this isn't about me, then it was okay. And I think that's also giving people grace. And you just can lean into more of the help you're getting somewhere else. Just I would say just really and that's easy to say, don't take it personal. It could really hurt if it's
of
someone close to you.
you are in such a vulnerable situation. You're already going
Yes.
some.
Yes, but cancer's it's a if you were to ask somebody what their biggest fear is, I bet you it's on the top of a lot of people's list as if they were told they had cancer. So it's just not for everybody to be able to handle very well.
Hmm. Um, I'm sometimes going on Reddit to the breast cancer group and I read, I'm curious what is happening and I comment. I also try to give some advice, or if they ask, of course, or write about some of the progress that I've made because I'm still dealing with some of the side effects. Um, and recently I read a post of a young woman who felt ugly without
Mm,
thinking about her incoming mastectomy. And she didn't feel confident and comfortable just being in public in general. Like, so she
mm,
just stayed at home and didn't want to leave the house. And she asked everybody on Reddit, what did they do to feel natural, to feel
mm,
normal, and to
mhm,
feel not sick?
mhm,
And it was an excellent question. It was very interesting to read different answers. For me, it was very empowering to actually not wear the wig.
mhm,
And as soon as I removed all the bandages, I was quite openly showing my scars. So I had deep flap reconstruction. So I have a scar on my abdomen, and I didn't hesitate to wear a shorter, like top, or like to show my port scar, like to have
mhm,
this like open, yeah, open tops. For me, this brought empowerment to show what I have because this is me.
mhm.
What was it for you? Or
Oh,
if ever you felt like you were not
yes.
more natural or something?
I felt all of it. I felt very like we don't realize how, vain we could be until, we shed tears about knowing you might lose your hair. But then at the same time, once I was on the other side of that, that's actually another video on my YouTube, chemo hair loss. I show me shaving my head the second time, and you'll see emotions there. You'll see some sadness, but a lot of acceptance because I'd done it before. I feel like a lot of self discovery is on the other side of fear on this journey. Who am I without my hair? Who am I without my breasts? You're still you. And I think if you have good friends around you and family, once you get in a conversation with those people, I mean, at some point, it's just they're just talking to you. They're not talking to, Ina with no breasts or Marina with no hair. You're just you. So I would say, to just start to move through it. Journaling is very powerful. I think writing about how you feel. And then I kind of leaned into the things. Like I also felt more comfortable without wigs. So I would wear a lot of cute hats. I learned how to do my makeup better at that time, to feel like I had some eyebrows. I would match my outfits when I went to chemo. I would match head wraps to my skirt. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to just
Wow.
try and look good doing it. So, again, all the emotions are valid, but if you stay where you're at with those emotions, you won't get growth that I think can truly happen with this journey. So, I think once you realize that you do have choices and how you think of this, then growth will come with this. It's guaranteed. You can't be diagnosed with cancer and not be changed, so you might as well grow.
Hmm. And so what changed in Marina before first diagnosis and Marina with whom I'm talking right now?
Yeah, enlightenment, 100%. I mean, if I want to take anything positive from cancer, I don't think a lot of people in this world get stripped of things that they used to weigh their worth on. Um, so I was empowered, I don't have to look a certain way to still be a good friend, to still, do what I did for work. To be a runner, I love running, so I was like, I can still do all the things that I want to do, even I, if it's different than what I expected it to look like.
Hmm. It also shows that you are very well, of course, you're strong. It shows you're very much in tune with your feelings and emotions. Has it always been the case throughout your journey, or can you say that cancer made you be more in tune with your feelings?
Mm. Um, well, I think certainly cancer, kind of highlights what you're going through, that I think to move through emotions, it's best to feel them. Um, and so, yeah, I think cancer probably changed that for me. I mean, before cancer, I was just doing what you expected, somebody young and single to be doing. I was working and traveling and hanging out with friends. So I
Hmm.
wasn't spending a lot of time soul searching. No, but when I look back through the process and what I did, that's what I'm saying. I actually think um, that it's made me just appreciate life so much more.
Hmm. And now, when you're coach to women with breast cancer, what do you feel is the most common theme in terms of, yeah, like emotions? Are they also looking for soulmates? Are they also trying to get in tune with their feelings and emotions?
Yes, I think it's part of the healing process when I coach people is, you know, uh, for them to identify what they're feeling and why they could be feeling it. I think at the heart of what I do, which is why I layered my cancer coaching with life coaching. I just graduated in that last October through Jay Shetty's program. Um, I feel like most people are trying to find purpose or at least feel like they have a purpose. I think especially because of cancer, like all of a sudden work might not be as satisfying as it was before. It actually highlights for a lot of people how stressful their work is,
Yeah.
or sometimes family situations. So again, it's kind of like coaching for me a lot of times is redefining what makes people feel good because they realize sometimes they put too much weight on work defining them or making family happy defining them because those are so external that we can't control that, just like cancer really can feel. And so it's a lot of internal work when I'm coaching. It's like, what's going to light you up? What are you going to enjoy working on today?
Hmm. What questions your um, I don't know, patients, how you can call clients, women attained by breast cancer, come with you most often, and at what stage of their journey they're coming to you? Is it during diagnosis or during active treatment or post treatment?
Yeah. From this last year of doing it, most it's from during treatment, or right before. Quite a few clients have come with their spouse, and so a lot of uh, praise to actually a lot of the men that found my videos encouraged their wife to book with me, and they come on together. It's been really great. And in that process, I think, we kind of go over some questions that they could ask their medical team. So, and then some of the tips that they might not be aware of through chemo. And at the end of it, I think it's really just a big release of emotion for people to connect with somebody. A lot of them are just like been living with fear since the moment of being diagnosed, them and their spouse. And I think most of them just get a little bit of release after talking to somebody.
Hmm. And what kind of transformation, like what was the biggest transformation you experienced with your clients?
I think it's always ongoing, to be honest. I think there is um, there's quick moments that help them, like, oh, you know what? Yeah, this is important to me. So how can I ask my doctor that? We kind of figure that out. But I think the ongoing work is releasing some of those feelings of anger from being diagnosed, fear, and again, kind of finding happiness again after
Hmm.
feeling like you weren't in control for so long. So finding a new way of feeling in control of their life.
You mentioned earlier that information is very important. It's like the key to success in the recovery. Um, what would be the like most important pieces of information for somebody who is just diagnosed and for somebody who finished active treatment and experiences all the, let's say, uh, back to normal life, but still going through many side effects.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like
Uh,
a piece of advice to women in active treatment and post treatment.
in active treatment, I would say is to ask your questions. Like if you have a question, write it down. Make sure you ask it at your next appointment. Uh, Understanding why you're doing treatment, why the treatment's been recommended. If I don't feel well on it, what do we do? Like just continue to be your own advocate. You don't. That's probably the most important thing I think during treatment is to really just speak up for yourself. How are you feeling? About anything, like how do you feel after chemo, let them know they can make changes. Some people don't even realize, they can kind of change your pre-med a little bit, or change a dosage, or maybe we need to change frequency. So communicating, being your own advocate. And it probably is the same for after treatment. um again, just letting them know how your symptoms are going. uh After treatment, after treatment, there's a lot of work to do. I think after treatment is probably when most of the emotions might actually bubble up. And so that's a time to not be afraid to still seek some help or support. I think there's a lot of foundations out there that can support people, and I'm starting to work with some of them. So I'm really excited about that. Um, but you can still get support even when you're done with treatment.
That's very helpful, especially for the treatment part. I can remember myself, I was afraid to ask questions.
Hmm.
Um, I thought that the doctor knows it all, but the doctor often tells you what they feel in the moment because they don't have enough time for you.
True.
And particularly for surgeries, I was not sure if I could ask my doctor to show pictures of their previous patients, which I didn't actually. But something like this, I didn't know it was
Yes.
okay to do that. It was allowed.
Yes.
And so just to have this empowerment to know this and to ask, that's already a big thing. And another part, um, I know that in Europe they use software to give you some prediction on your life expectancy after cancer.
Mm.
You can ask your doctor that
Okay.
Bec-
Yeah.
because they don't tell about this immediately.
I laugh because I'm like, I don't know if I want to know. I'm just kidding.
I know,
For
but
most of us, it should be good, but
I know, but it's kind of I guess it can also give you empowerment, because we know
Yes,
is that in the Western world, like over 93% of women survive. So that's quite a huge,
yes,
maybe not everybody wants to know, but just to know, like, oh my God, I'm in the 95% or
yes.
something like this.
Oh,
Just,
totally.
just give,
Yeah, I was in the 95% that it should not come back, but still, it definitely felt good to hear that.
mm.
Yeah.
But I think this, like sometimes these statistics or numbers are very empowering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true because if people sometimes live in that fear, sometimes they've gone to those groups or like Reddit, like you said, and they'll see all the downside. They'll see all the scary side effects and they'll hear about all the hard things that people are going through. But I remind people we usually only hear that part of it because most of the people that are doing well are not going online and say, I'm doing pretty good. Like you're not hearing from
No.
those people in treatment. You're only going to hear when people are not having a are having a hard time. So yeah, keep that in mind.
And to be honest, this is my personal biggest fear, the fear of recurrence.
Mm-hmm.
And even if
Yep.
I have a little pain in my little finger, I immediately think
Yeah,
cancer. And typically, cancer does not hurt. That's what my doctor told me.
that's right.
So, how we can deal with that?
Yes. The fear, I go to, I think more logically, I think sometimes. So I just go to, okay, how long have I had the pain? I have a video on this on my YouTube, but you have a pain, now what? But how long have I had the pain? Does it come and go? You know, if it's been there a while, then who should I call first to have it checked? Kind of just going through the motions. I find empowerment and again having the information and the tools. You can go have an ultrasound. You can speak to your doctor or nurse and just take the steps to take action. Action can bring you peace. I think not doing anything about it will have you live in your mind, and our mind is it'll just take us down these dark roads sometimes. So just take the action so you can feel like you're doing something about it.
Yeah. Well, I definitely recommend everyone to watch this video and any other video on Marina's channel, because this is quite empowering. And I continue watching your YouTube. It reminds me sometimes of some of what I was going through, and I often finish watching your videos with a big smile on my face.
Mm.
My last question for today is unrelated to all the breast cancer stuff. What makes you happy these days?
What makes me happy? Oh gosh. um oh god. This connecting with other survivors, being able to hear feedback from people that I've been able to give them hope and inspiration, and that keeps me going. You might see me smiling a lot. I mean, I truly enjoy life, but I have anxious days too. And so it's makes me very happy to connect with others. And that brings me happiness.
Okay, so everybody go watch Marina's channel, and thank you for your time. Thank you for answering all these questions. I really enjoyed our conversation. It gave me even more power and so much energy. It's now
Mm.
evening for me, but I feel like my day has just started. Thank you so
I
much.
love it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your generosity and your time. Bye. Bye bye.
Bye.